This video is sponsored by Circle Space. More about them at the end of the video.
So I've been watching Tokyo Revengers since it came out, and I was immediately hooked after the end of season 1, so I went to the manga and I read it a ton. But because we like it so much, it was interesting to hear, considering how successful Tokyo Revengers was, that so many people really dislike it. It kind of has a divisive reputation.
So as we were looking through Tokyo Revengers and rewatching it, we found 5 main reasons why we think people fell out of love with it.
And the first one is a pretty obvious one. It's that Tokyo Revengers has an unlikable crybaby protagonist.
As a character, I get where all the hate is coming from, okay? I feel you guys, because
You hate him.
I don't hate him. I don't.
A little bit.
I just get really frustrated. It's like, oh, I love you, but you're so stupid. I can't with you.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, I guess the thing that going against him is he just whines a lot. He makes so many stupid decisions, and anything else? I think those are pretty good points.
And he doesn't get better, a lot of people think. Like, his growth takes too long.
It's very, like, we finished season 2, and
yes.
I'm season I'm just beginning to see, like, the tiniest.
And you'll see it a lot more in the next arc, too.
So, yeah, so that's the good thing, is he does
Yeah.
change.
He
It's
does.
just very slow.
It is slow.
But I think that's what's admirable about it sometimes. He has the spirit of a shonen protagonist. He just lacks everything else of a shonen protagonist.
There is something admirable about
Yeah.
a person who goes into a fight super scared. He's terrified all the time. Like, there's never a fight he goes into, I think, like, actually thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna win. A lot of shonen protagonists start off sucking. Like, in Haikyuu, you'd say Hinata starts off not very good. Same with Deku, has no powers. But, like, Takemichi, like, really sucks. But no matter what, he doesn't give up. Whatever happens, he refuses to give into any kind of future where Hina dies. And I think that is kind of admirable.
That's
So,
definitely admirable.
You know, like, say what you will about his intelligence, but you got to admit, I would say not that many characters have that mental fortitude to have so many things go wrong, like, every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And still keep going, like, without failure. Well, with a lot of failure. without stopping, you know what I mean? There's no, like, training montage, which people were probably waiting
that's
for.
true.
Where he, like, goes with Mikey, and Mikey's like, I'm gonna teach you how to fight because you suck, and I want you to be better. And then he comes out the next day and Takemichi's a badass. Like, that doesn't happen. But that's not realistic for his character. The second reason is poor animation. I would say this is definitely a real issue for the show, if not maybe the biggest issue. I think if it was getting the same treatment that, like, Chainsaw Man JJK is getting, I think it would be very different. Because a big part of what Tokyo Revengers is, obviously, strategy and fights, combat, movement, all of that stuff. It needs the animation to be on its side, or it just is not going to hit right, basically, is what I'm saying. It's a big point for why it gets hated on so much, because when it came out, it really had, like, a lot of hype, but the animation just didn't reach the same level that, like, AOT and JJK did at all. So it kind of makes sense. Like, if Jujutsu came out with all of its hype and everyone being like, oh my god, it's such a good story, and then the animation looked sloppy, then it would get hated on too. Same with any other really big show. Tokyo Revengers, it just had too many people focusing on it for it to get away with not having stellar animation for, like, as an action shonen anime.
Yeah, except Mappa can't take on anymore, so.
Yeah, especially right now when I said get the JJK treatment, it doesn't really want that.
Okay, in terms of, like, downsides for this season, I noticed it this season more than any other season or any other show. The commercial breaks are so weird. Like,
Yeah, dude.
they come out of nowhere, right? So they'll be, like, in the middle of a
You can count on it.
and then-
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's absurd, actually.
Yeah.
It takes you out of the story.
it really takes you out when you do commercial breaks.
Yes.
So remember to like and subscribe to our channel and comment whatever you'd like. It helps with the algorithm.
Now I get it.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
pretty
Hey!
good.
All right. Also, the other thing, I hear this so much. I've seen reactors say this
Yeah.
as well, which I completely understand, which they say it's very unrealistic. And I get it. It takes place in a real version of Japan, except it's a world where you can shake the hands of your ex's little brother and travel back in time. Unrealistic, like, oh, how did he get hit with the crowbar and still live? How did he shake that guy's hand and travel back 10 years in the past, you know?
Yeah,
Like-
also it's a bunch of middle schoolers But they look like they're 30. Like, that's just something you have to get past if you want to get into the show, is like that kid who just beat everyone single-handedly, like all 50 guys, he's 12.
Yeah. I mean, anime, that, yeah, at
I mean,
this
that's
point,
kinda anime.
Daddy!
maybe you could say that this show is not realistic in terms of the logistics of the world. And what I mean is that if we were to assume this was a real world, first of all, why would you? But also, like, the whole, wait, where are all their parents all the time? But I think what's really realistic about the show is the characters and their emotions. That's what feels good about it when we watch it,
Right.
you know? Yeah.
Talking about like realistic emotions, I'm just saying, I know he does cry a lot. He cries more than I think any other protagonist I've ever read or seen. But if you saw the love of your life die horribly in every single future after you've spent so long trying to fix it, I think you might cry a bit too. I don't know.
That's just who you are.
But Tokyo Revengers doesn't seem to get the same grace when it comes to its unrealistic plot. And
Yeah.
that is in part because it is cool to hate on. It had a burst of explosive popularity. It was breaking records. At its peak, it actually broke Kodansha's records for most manga sold within 1 year. It beat out Attack on Titan's record.
No.
Yes.
Wait.
It did. Not by like, not a ton, but it
But
was
still.
a decent amount. I think a couple 100,000
Wow.
over Attack on Titan. And now Tokyo Revengers, the manga, has over 70 million copies sold worldwide. So I would say you can't really overstate how big Tokyo Revengers was. But as with anything that gets a big sudden boost in popularity, it's bound to get a flood of hate in response. And part of this hate stems from comparisons made between Tokyo Revengers and other shonen anime, specifically stuff like the Big Three. Also, My Heroes one I hear a lot because of Takemichi and Deku crying a lot.
But seriously, like, he cries so much that it can become like a drinking game. Like, drink when he cries, you guys will be out cold, I
You're
swear to
gonna
you.
black out. Yeah, it's not like the Big Three. It's really not like My Hero Academia, but it doesn't need to be. For example, it's quite a bit more character-based than your average action shonen anime would be. There is a big focus on action, of course. It is your classic delinquent storyline, but there's a lot more time and development between the major fights rather than just jumping straight into the next big showdown, which a lot of shonen do, and that works because it keeps the plot moving and it's fast and that's fun. But this one, the action is always built up to, and it really feels earned because a lot goes into it, a lot of character development and stuff before it happens. So generally, it makes the next big fight like a big turning point in the story. And some people going in hoping to just see like a bunch of badass gang fights, that might disappoint them a bit. But at the end of the day, no one can deny that as things currently are, Takemichi will always be a point of contention when it comes to getting people into the show. Honestly, it really feels like no one is watching this show. Like, there's almost no videos on YouTube. I don't really hear about it on other social media platforms very often. Like, it's barely talked about even to be hated on. But I can't stand for that, so I made Gordon watch the entire Christmas Showdown arc. And now we're here. So we're not gonna cover the Tenjiku arc because that, obviously, if you've read the manga, you know that needs its own video. Like,
We know it needs another video because I've read your script. It's okay, editor will take care of it.
You will.
When you see this video, it's already been taken care of. Oh, what a wonderful future. Going on to season 2, it picks up right where season 1 left off. There's no audience hand-holding like, oh, this is what happened last season.
No, like Chifuyu is just dead on the floor.
Yeah,
And that's-
exactly. It's not like, what was it?
Oh no, not the Kuroko's
The
basketball
Kuroko's saga.
intro.
Yeah, what was it?
Teiko Middle School basketball.
Le club de basket du collège Teiko compte
And so his best friend Chifuyu's already dead on the floor and they're about to kill Takemichi, except suddenly there's a blackout and Takemichi is rescued by Plot. Sorry, by none other than...
Baji.
Wait, no, it's actually the guy who killed Baji, but you can tell by being in prison by 12 years that this has really changed, both what he looks like and what he is.
He looks really
He
different.
looked Kazutora, right? I couldn't recognize him.
I don't know, I think he looks really good. Like, that's just objectively a good looking man right there.
Yeah, I like how, like, in prison, he grew out his hair. but it's continually died.
Yes, yeah, he's got a prison guy just like dying.
Yeah,
back there.
yeah.
He's got a dude.
I think Kazutora is not only just a different person, but he's also kind of switched sides a bit, where he's working now with Chifuyu. I mean, Toman has changed a lot because Mikey's changed, and that's been consistent every time Takemichi travels to the future. And the reason Mikey has changed this time is because he's corrupted by the money and greed of a gang Toman absorbed called Black Dragon. So most of what we're going to be talking about is Takemichi trying to stop Black Dragon from being a part of Toman and corrupting Mikey. And this leads into the Christmas Showdown arc.
And goddamn, is it a good arc? Like this,
so good.
it really is good, guys. The premise doesn't sound like anything revolutionary, and it's really not. But there's still something about this arc that just hits different. I think it's because of how intimate that this arc feels. This isn't a large scale, like everyone attack all at once type of battle. This is an arc that centers around 8 main players, all stuck in a church together on one snowy Christmas night.
Oh, I have something I'm wondering. At least it looks like the budget went down. I wonder if that has any effect on why this arc is more intimate, or has that always been part of the...
Oh no, it's always been that way in the manga. They followed it honestly pretty closely. Because of this smaller scale, you really get to spend more time getting to know these characters and what motivates them in a way that I don't think you get with a lot of other shonen arcs. Like, you meet the 2 main characters of this arc in this filler bowling scene, which is basically just Takemichi hanging out with Hina and having the silent bowling competition between him and this tall guy with the shaved blue head next to him, who also happens to be the vice captain of Toman's 2nd division. I'm just saying, like, this is actually one thing that Takemichi is really good at, is bowling. It's really random, but like, he honestly is kind of a hardcore bowler. Do Toman well if they had some kind of annual bowling competition, I'm just saying, because then it would, you know, make their 1st division captain look like he is good at something.
Whoa, who are you calling a moron?
Yeah, and like, I get how a lot of people might think this is filler or this is unnecessary. At least the way we see things, we really like filler episodes if it doesn't take away from like the big climactic episodes, because that's really what helps build characters. We meet these 2 siblings. We've got Hakai and Yutsuha, and the first time we meet them, we just think, oh, they're a pair of like funny, kind of quirky, endearing siblings. Hakai can't even look at Hina because he's so embarrassed to be around girls. But
yeah, that was really weird. I was actually very confused at first. I was like, does he hate her or something? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, because he looks big and tough, but he's around
Yeah.
girls. He's like, ooh. He has Mitsuya, his 2nd division captain, as his wallpaper, and his sister has him as her wallpaper.
Yes.
I didn't notice this the first time I watched it.
You didn't notice
No, I didn't.
You were paying attention. No, that was kind of funny. Even Takemichi pointed out, I was like,
That's even more messed up.
So they're just hanging out, right? But then things suddenly change when Hakai brings them over to his house. So these scary gang members surround them, and then up steps the money lover with a snake tongue.
that's Coco. Yeah.
That's Coco. And Todoroki's angry blonde cousin.
That's what he looks like, dude. And he's got the burn and everything.
Just not the high heels.
Not the, yeah. Well,
Which is
Todoroki's missing
really
out on the
cool.
high heels, you know.
What happens is that as they get surrounded, Yutsuha is the one that stands up to Inui when it's like he's gonna give Hakai some trouble.
Yeah.
And she comes out with this crazy flying kick, and it's like,
Don't you dare mess with my little brother.
He's a badass.
She is a badass.
I'm saying, she-
Then the leader of Black Dragon appears out of nowhere, bolting down this alleyway at top speed with this bright red uniform, and he absolutely destroys Takemichi right out of the gate.
So this is kind of one of those moments where you gotta wonder, like, how did Mikey pick this dude? It's either Takemichi is blind or his reaction time, it's slower than the 3rd Hokage's death scene. But anyway, to prevent Takemichi from getting his own extended death scene, Hawkeye is forced to promise the leader that he'll quit Toman and join Black Dragon if only he'll stop beating up his new friend. And here Takemichi has this brilliant revelation that the viewer should have had the second you see Hawkeye on screen, basically, which is that Hawkeye is the one who takes over Black Dragon in the future by killing his older brother, Taiju Shiba. Takemichi's problem-solving skills are about as great as they've always been, and I get that that can be frustrating. I know it frustrated the hell out of you.
The way he breaks up with Hina, it's just... When it happened, I think you probably saw me watching it. Before he even did it, I was already like on the floor like,
knew.
no.
Like, you were
he's-
literally like cringing
Oh
down
my god.
into the couch, like you were trying to like get away.
Because basically, Hina's dad was like, oh, you're with the gang. I think you're a cool guy,
Oh, I'm glad to hear that I'm cool.
but I don't think you should be with her. So he breaks up with her. Well, okay, he does it because he thinks it will save her, because then she won't be associated with him anymore.
Yeah.
We already know from season 1 that he already broke up with her on Christmas Day, but it doesn't work anyways, because she still gets killed. He's known that since season 1. Like, okay, sorry, I have to keep... It's the way he does it. He's like, sorry, I'm in love with someone else. Like...
I know that like killed you. Like I saw a part of your soul die. Maybe he doesn't want Hina to still feel anything toward him. So like if he was breaking up with her because of the actual reason, which is kind of an honorable reason of like, I don't want you to get hurt, then she'd be like, oh, you still love me. Versus this makes him out to be an asshole. As she did, she just beat him up after. Like she really just went at him.
I felt good.
I
Yes,
know.
slap that little Mitch.
That little Mitch, little Mitchie. I don't know. I really never like it in anime when the female characters get to like just beat the guys to a pulp, and it's okay because they're women, so that makes it like funny and cute. So originally I didn't really like that Hina did this, but then after talking to you about it, I don't know. They don't play it for laughs. Like it's not a funny scene where she's hitting him and it's like, oh, Hina. It's like this is actually really sad, and you can genuinely feel her pain. And also, Takemichi was being an asshole. And if she didn't punch him, I feel like you were gonna like jump in and do it yourself or something.
I don't have a violent bone in my body.
That actually is true. I don't think you could do.
I couldn't hurt a fly even if I wanted to.
We've gotten ahead of ourselves because before breaking it off with Hina, we see Mitsuya making a deal with Taiju.
Right, and the deal is made between two guys who hate violence, you know?
Yeah, they would never fight
Yeah.
each other. What do you mean? You know, like Taiju, he makes top 10 chillest anime villains, you know? Like he's just like a cool guy to hang out with.
I
or
would hang out with
something.
him.
Yeah, you would.
We get along well.
Yeah, you get along great,
Yeah.
I think. And that deal is that Mitsuya will let Hawkeye join Black Dragon as Taiju's always wanted, but that Taiju will have to release Yuzuha from his abuse and control in return. So that night, Hawkeye finally tells Takemichi and Shifuyu about his past and like his whole family life, and how Taiju has been beating him and Yuzuha like day in, day out until they're passing out and like coughing up blood, and this has been going on since they were kids. One day, Hawkeye decided he'd had enough of seeing his sister being beaten to a pulp, and he tells Taiju that he'll take all of Yuzuha's beatings and his own. But there were still a lot of times when Taiju would break his promise and beat Yuzuha anyway, which is why Hawkeye knows Taiju is going to break his promise to Mitsuya. Like, it's just going to happen. So that's why he makes the decision that this whole arc is centered around, which is that he's going to kill his older brother.
And that's the exact future that Takemichi is trying to prevent. As Takemichi and Shifuyu later find out, Taiju is actually a devout Christian who goes to his church every Christmas Eve at the dead of night to pray.
And that is the only time that he is ever alone, that he goes anywhere without his bodyguards. And so, of course, this means that's the time that Hawkeye is going to strike and try to kill his brother. If they manage to hold off Taiju long enough, maybe Takemichi can convince Hawkeye not to go through with. So just as Takemichi is about to pull out his blonde protagonist super abilities, like, you know, Naruto, and make Hawkeye see the error of his ways, Taiju shows up and everything goes to hell.
And he basically just shows up to end Takemichi's life, because if Yutsuha wasn't there, he would totally have died, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Hawkeye originally tries to do it, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, Taiju, and then he doesn't,
Yeah.
of course. But Yuzuha, she like sneaks up from behind. She puts all of her weight into that knife thrust.
And this is the first plot twist, because you see Hawkeye kind of just stand there frozen.
Yeah.
This whole time, I was kind of screaming at the TV screen, like, Hawkeye, do something. He's not doing anything. You were the one trying to kill him, and now you're just standing there.
But it's so telling of her character. It makes me like her all the more because it's a little bit similar to Takemichi, where she knows she probably doesn't stand a chance. This guy is huge, 6'3", muscle-packed. Yuzuha, she doesn't waver at all. And I love that they don't give her some kind of like superpower, super strength abilities. You see it in Marvel and other stuff where like these normal girls just can take down a guy like twice their size, and it's supposed to be like, oh, that's what a strong female character is. Like, no, Yuzuha, she's just a normal girl, but she has very strong convictions, and I think it's cool that they don't fall into that trope. They let her personality and character make her stand out rather than some flashy, unrealistic moves.
Yeah, and I think her appearance really saved everyone, because it gave them the right kind of break.
Yes.
In terms of that kind of
Yeah.
tension. At this moment, you're still wondering, Hawkeye, what are you doing? This whole time he hasn't done anything.
It's not until Mitsuya shows up that you start to see a glimmer of hope. Mitsuya, you don't really get to see a lot of him in season 1. Like season 2 is really where you get to know him. I don't think you even remembered his character like at all.
Not at all.
Not even a
Not-
little bit.
no.
When we started, I was like, oh yeah, it's Mitsuya. You're like, who?
I mean, that's me most of the time.
That, like all of the time.
All of
but-
the time.
僕は前にもそのことあってる
I think the good thing about this arc and making it more intimate is definitely that I remember certain characters better.
Yes, much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. Good for you. Like it's really sweet how protective he is over Hawkeye and Yuzuha. He definitely acts like the older brother that they should have. One of the first things he says to Taiju is like,
A big brother never hits his little sister no matter what. No matter what she does, you laugh it off and forgive.
I wasn't really sure at first how he was gonna fare, but he was kind of like matching Taiju blow for blow for a little while. It's just that
Yep.
he's so much smaller that his punches are kind of like, I mean, to Taiju, it's like, I don't know, it's whatever. But Mitsuya was definitely a badass.
It's such an unbalanced fight. I think that's the problem.
Yes, it's incredibly unbalanced. And then, he just like hits Mitsuya over the head with a crowbar. Boom. Like, Mitsuya should be dead. I'm just saying.
So
Mitsuya.
unrealistic. I can't watch the show anymore.
Yeah, I think we should quit. Literally all of our guys are beaten to hell on their last legs. The stakes feel immensely high and the atmosphere is tense because you know the two guys who can always bail you out are not coming. I don't know, this whole scene with Taiju, it was almost unbelievable. Like, we're used to seeing Takemichi get the crap beat out of him. Like, that happens a lot. But this time, I don't know, there was just something about how many brutal hits this guy can take and then stand up and be like,
I refuse to lose to you.
And then this is the coolest part. This is the part where I think Takemichi really, really grew a little bit.
Yes.
Is when he threw a punch and it really finally connected with Taiju. Yeah.
yes. That was, like, what a punch. Like, it's not exactly his very first punch, but it's definitely one of them, and like maybe his first successful punch. I was proud of him. I was
I
like,
felt
okay,
proud. Yeah.
yeah, like that was a good one. At first, Taiju tries to be all like,
If that was a punch, I didn't even feel it.
but then it actually sends him like this monster truck of a man to his knees.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Like, he collapses. Yeah. Hawkeye especially just cannot understand why Takemichi is so determined to do this. Like, why is he putting his all in, like, this impossible fight? And that's when Takemichi delivers what I think is one of his best lines thus far.
Fighting your hardest isn't painful. What's really painful is knowing you're alone.
I guess this is the moment where Takemichi really just comes into his own, I guess.
Yeah, he really steps up.
He does. And you know, he does this a lot where he steps in front of people and gets beat up.
Yeah.
But it felt a little different this time. Yeah, because this time it really felt like he could die. And I think it felt different because of what he says to Hawkeye. It wasn't him just standing up and protecting someone. It was that this act of defiance itself was aiming to change someone else.
It's genuinely powerful and moving, and I think it goes to show what Takemichi's learned since taking on this journey of saving everyone.
At that moment, that really sparks change in Hawkeye, and he finally opens up about something, and this is the biggest twist of the entire arc, and dare I say, the entire show so far.
Is that it was never Hawkeye who was protecting Yuzuha. It was always Yuzuha protecting Hawkeye. She is the one who took beatings for two.
What makes it worse is I think that Hawkeye didn't just lie about Yutsuha protecting him, he completely just took credit about it.
I remember reading the manga that this twist hit so hard. Like, and so it was great to see it play out in the anime. I think they did a good job. One of the best things about this twist wasn't just that it was like so shocking, it's unbelievable. It was that it actually made things come together and finally make sense, because this whole time we're under this impression that it was Hawkeye the one who's protecting her, but like none of that quite adds up until this moment, because you keep seeing her being the one to step up. She's the one who does the flying kick and literally says out loud, like, don't you dare lay a hand on my little brother, and like stuff like that. She's the one who had the guts to stab Taiju. And then I think what also makes it so great is everyone wasn't just like, oh, Hawkeye, it's fine. They were all like, Hawkeye, you suck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, you suck. But
Don't think for a second that you're the only one who sucks. 'Cause I suck even worse sometimes.
But I suck too when I told you all that stuff.
finally, this poor girl who's been fending for her family by herself for years, she finally has this group of guys and friends that are going to stand up for her. Hawkeye finally gets his courage here, I think. When he finally admits that secret that he's been keeping, it's like a weight lifts off of him,
Yeah.
and he realizes what he has to do.
Now, while our boys are fighting on Yutsu's behalf, you suddenly hear these engines pull up. The moment you hear that, it's like, oh, finally it's happening. Can't wait to see
Yes.
Mikey kick some ass.
Yeah, the second that he does walk through those doors, the second Mikey comes in, it's like all your worries disappeared.
It means no worries.
'Cause, like we said before, he's that guy, you know. And I love the way that he enters. He's all like smiling and stuff, kind of. He's like,
What are you guys all doing here? This is a holiday, after all.
and then suddenly you see his face turn deadly serious.
He gives like Dazai sometimes. Like
Yeah, you're so right. Like he's very fun-loving, easygoing,
Yeah.
and then he can turn on a dime.
When you see Mikey make that face, like, we all know that things are going to be okay. I was
Yeah.
not scared for a single moment because once
Yeah.
he shows up, things are going to be okay. And he gets punched the first time and he actually falls down and just lies there.
Yeah, he looks dead.
Well, I was feeling all right. But, like, I was like, he's going to be fine. And he stands up and says,
That punch you just gave me, that was my punishment to myself.
That felt good. That felt good. You know, then he completely bodies Taiju. Like one kick, bam, it's over. Like Taiju, the guy we've been fighting all season and who has almost single-handedly killed all of our dudes, is KO'd by one single Mikey kick.
you don't even see the kick.
You don't even see the kick.
I didn't see. Did you see it? Like, it
It's
was
just bam. Yeah, I think he's like smiling one frame and then the next he's like like passed out on the floor.
cool. That's
It's so cool. That was another moment where everyone in the church, their jaws just dropped because of course they do. So right after that, then we have Taiju resurrecting himself. And clearly he does not get who he's dealing with here, Mr. Invincible Mikey. He knows the name, but he doesn't know what it means apparently. Because the second he springs to his feet, he's all like,
Tell the boys outside to get ready. Let's see how Invincible Mikey does against 100 men.
It's just so lame, right?
Yeah.
For such a big, powerful character, tries to take down Mikey, fails, and it's like, okay, now I'll have my 100 guys go get you. Like, that's so
Yeah.
lame.
100 guys, but then it's like those 100 guys doesn't even matter anyway because Mikey didn't come alone. Draken is outside and all 100 plus members of Black Dragon are too on the ground.
Like, even Mikey going to the church, I was like, how did he walk past all
Yeah,
those
you
100
did
guys?
ask
I was
that.
like, yeah, are they all dead already?
You were literally like, did he do it all himself? And it's like, well, I mean, he could have, but
He
he
could
didn't
have.
need to.
Yeah.
Because he's got Draken. And I think that's cool because Draken isn't the number one guy. He's number two. And he already did this. Like, those two alone are so OP. It's crazy.
No, but honestly, everyone was such a badass in this fight, except for Hawkeye. Like,
But then when he finally did do something, I will say it did feel earned.
it felt like a good payoff.
It felt like a good payoff.
Yeah.
But the best part of this fight has to be Takemichi, I think. You don't even totally like Takemichi, but I
No.
think you would admit that to
Yeah,
me.
no, I liked him a lot during this specific.
this scene.
So right after Hina breakup and
Yeah.
right before end of episode. No, it is true that I wasn't so sure about this arc, but everything up till the last 2 episodes, I was still on the fence on. But when everything paid off, when Yuta's flashback came in, when
Yeah.
Takemichi stood up for
Yeah.
Hawkeye, when Mikey came in, I think these are the favorite episodes of Tokyo Revengers for me. Even though it's a smaller fight, yeah, I think they're the most emotional fights.
Emotional,
Yeah.
yes.
So right after the battle, Mikey takes Takemichi to Hinata like straight afterwards to be like, "You better make up for what you just did."
Yeah.
And thank God he did it. Oh my God.
He takes him straight there. Like,
Yeah.
No break. He's like,
Yep.
yeah, you're passed out. I'm putting you on my motorcycle and taking you to Hina.
Yep. And I think this takes the cake for the crybabiest cry
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Takemichi has ever done.
I'm so sorry.
Now, despite his ridiculous cry, Hina still forgives him, and they end up back together again. Everything seems to have ended well.
And you'd think that this would be the end of the season, right? Like,
Yes.
that's gotta be it. Things are gonna go well for once, maybe, because they finally got rid of Kisaki.
But then the moment Takemichi goes back to the future, and you guys can probably see where this is going.
It opens up on a funeral. I remember one of his sisters came up, and you were like,
Thank God Hina's okay.
"God, he just alive this time."
This is a great future. Yeah, we made
Yeah,
it.
You know, Mitsuya might be dead, but like at least Hina's here. No, she's dead too. She's dead too.
And so is everyone else.
So is literally everyone in Tomon, like every single core member. Even Kisaki has been killed.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Everyone except for one person, the one responsible for murdering everyone.
Foreshadowed in the ending.
Foreshadowed in the ending.
Yeah, Mikey.
With Mikey, yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah. Should we say that part over again?
Yeah.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Everyone except for one person.
Oh, who is it?
The one person responsible
Oh,
for killing everyone.
Shifuyu,
Almost another blonde one.
Mitsuya.
He's not. He was never blonde.
Oh, well, like white blonde, like platinum.
Mikey.
Oh,
It was Mikey.
Yes.
I thought something that you said was interesting is when we were watching Mikey take down Taiju, a thought that you had watching that was, it's a good thing that Mikey is a good guy, because if he was bad, like everyone would be screwed. He's
Yeah.
just too OP.
well, well, it came true. I
predictor.
wrote this show.
Did you? Oh my god.
I drew the manga too.
I mean, this is really a glimpse of Mikey at his lowest. Like, this marks the beginning of his mental health downward spiral. And it's kind of like, it's a spiral into the darkness that I think has always been there. We've always seen it, kind of like when he was almost going to kill Kazutora at the end of season 1, and it was like a big deal to stop him from doing that, because that would make Toman go down a bad path. It's the same kind of thing, except now we're actually seeing it play out. We're actually seeing him at this darkness.
No, I had this thought too, where when he's good, but he has all the potential to be the most powerful bad guy, it's
Yeah.
because he chooses to be good. And that
Yeah.
the fact that the mangaka didn't flinch away from,
Right.
oh no, it's because he's being manipulated by Kisaki.
Right.
Yeah, I
which is
really
a
like
thought
that.
I was like, oh, maybe he's just being manipulated.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hopeful for that, but then after you said that, I thought that's a good point. It's not
Yeah.
that he's born good. He chooses, like, actively, he chooses to be good. Like the first time in the junkyard scene with Mikey, the way that his death plays out, like when he says, "When I first killed someone,"
I didn't even feel a thing.
and that you get that like Pungo Stray Dogs like shot of his eyes,
Yeah.
you know. And there's like another shot where he's laying there and he's dying, and like the blood starts to fill up his tears and stuff.
Oh.
And I just thought it was animated really nicely, actually.
So when he gets back to the past and starts punching the crap out of a tire, that's when you know. Yeah. No, but that's when the Tenjiku arc is really getting set up, and from what I hear, is one of the craziest arcs ever.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm really excited. I'm genuinely like really excited to see what you think of this arc, because it really is different from all the other arcs.
I bet the highlight of the new season will be Izuna.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know it.
just the way he's designed. He's a main character. Like, I think anime,
Yeah.
you can tell if someone's gonna die soon, is if they don't have really
Is
cool
if they
design.
don't have a really cool
Yeah.
design. Yes, Tenjiku is gonna be really cool. Just get ready to be
Badly hurt.
but also very awed by the epicness of the arc. It is what a lot of manga readers consider to be peak Revengers. Like, you'll hear that said a lot.
Wow.
If you thought this past arc was good, just you wait. I'm just saying, just you wait.
You're trying to comfort me, and even though I know it's a lie.
Subscribe!